Hi, Alexandra. My name is Ellen, and I will be correcting this essay for you today. Let's take a look at what you have written. It's the prisoner's essay, so let's see what you said. It is widely acknowledged that former prisoners might play a pivotal role in preventing young people from getting involved in crime. This could be done by raising the level of awareness among youngsters concerning all the possible consequences crime could bring. I strongly advocate this approach. Get rid of the for. In this essay, careful with your spelling, I shall look at two possible ways of spreading the knowledge about crimes and its impact. Okay, it's fine. It's actually nice. You didn't need all of this. Okay. In fact, I probably would have left this out. Okay, this sentence. It's not really necessary. You don't need it here. What we're concerned about is basically a restatement of the topic and then your position. That's pretty much it. Okay. Um, so that, yeah, just basically there's really no reason to spend too much time or too much mental bandwidth really on the introduction. If you do those two things I mentioned, the rephrasing and the position, then your job there is done. Take the time to fully develop your body paragraphs and just, be done with the introduction relatively quickly. Okay, so first of all, in my opinion, the best way to prevent the young generation, you make sure you spell it right, from committing crimes is by organizing live meetings and discussions with former prisoners in public places such as schools or libraries. Empirical observations suggest that the best way to gain knowledge without the, as well as to avoid direct contact with a crime, along with its subsequent consequences, is not only by listening to it directly, but also by asking specific questions. For instance, were the children taught about the cruelty in prisons, they would, I think you mean here they would be motivated to avoid committing crimes. Apparently, personal experience as well as personal contact with former prisoners might be a key element in I can't talk tonight, sorry, might be a key element in discouraging teenagers from committing crimes. Okay, the language is really lovely. I like it. Let's see. I think you developed it well. Um, let's see. They ask specific questions. Okay. Yeah, maybe you could have rephrased this a little bit. So, in other words, we're saying, why are these ex-prisoners the best people? And so you're talking about that, but then you go off kind of in a different direction and say, oh, well, kids get to ask questions. Okay, well, why is that important? Why is it important that they get to ask the ex-prisoners these questions? Why? Do you know what I mean? So maybe you could have rephrased this. Let's say, is to avoid direct contact with a crime is not only by listening. Okay, right. So, for instance, let's see. Yeah, do you understand what I mean? Like, I don't necessarily feel like these ideas are totally linked to each other. Okay. So let me think about this for a second. Let me make some suggestions. Okay, so you say this thing about the empirical evidence and et cetera, and by also asking specific questions. So what we expect to come after that is an example that shows how effective asking questions to former prisoners is. So you could have said something like, for instance, when teenagers asked ex-prisoners questions about specific hardships in prison. This left an indelible impression. Their answers, rather, left an indelible impression upon them. Okay, so something like that. So your support has to relate to the statement you've just said. Okay, there has to be clear links between the statement and then the support for it. Okay, all right, let's keep going. Secondly, another crucial aspect is presenting this theme in various TV programs or online. In our modern era, media such as TV and the internet have a crucial impact on mankind. Young people often tend to choose their heroes or heroines based on the true stories, careful, are, such as A Life of a Prisoner. A good example would be movies depicting former prisoners and their lives in captivity, often causing changes with a G of their characters. Such movies or shows are often meant to influence youngsters to act in accordance with the law and thus preventing them from the devastating effects of crime on their lives. Okay, now here I'm a little confused. Let me tell you why. Because this is about whether talking to an ex-prisoner is the best way. All right, remember that's what the question is asking you. And you said you do, you advocate it, okay? And then you said two possible ways. But what you suggested here isn't really this approach. You're talking about TV programs, okay? And that's not what this is about. This is about talking with an ex prisoner, hearing that ex prisoner's story, okay? And this for me is not actually supporting what you've said. What you could have done is you could have said, uh, any sort of contact with the life of an ex-prisoner is effective, be it through in-person conversations or the watching the stories of these people. So if you had said something like that in the beginning of your essay, then this would have made sense. But you instead told us something different. You said that um, what okay, check it out. So what you wrote makes sense according to what you wrote. The essay was asking you something a little more specific. They said, if ex-prisoners talk to young people or give discussions, I can't remember what the phrasing is. But that's actually not what you're covering here. Does that make sense? I hope I'm making sense. Okay. Um, let's keep going. In conclusion, former prisoners and their experience might serve as a great example for children in terms of teaching them to avoid making decisions which would lead to act irrespective of you've got a the here, the law, TV programs, live shows, and discussion in social media. This is three things, so you can't say is, are another key aspect which should not be neglected. Okay. You can't say both of the approaches because this is three different approaches, isn't it? It's not two. So these approaches are beneficial for the society as a whole and should be supported by authorities. Don't forget your full stop here. All right, so I see a lot of really, really nice, strong language in your writing. You have a very good grasp of a lot of advanced things in English, natural language, high level expressions. And so all of that is really, really nice to see. I do have some concerns about your task achievement. Okay, I think I expressed them. While your essay makes sense the way you phrased it, now looking at your introduction, you didn't quite cover this aspect of talking to prisoners. Okay, so um, you made it a little more general, and so it wasn't as focused as the actual question was. So in that respect, this made sense in your essay, but it wasn't as focused as it was supposed to be. And so then this felt kind of off topic. Okay. So that's kind of where the problem lies here. All right, so Alexandra, I want to thank you for sending this essay in. You're definitely on the right track. I think that with some feedback, we could help you overcome some of these issues with task achievement. So take a look at the different ways that exist to continue working with us. I invite you to pick whichever one works for you best. I think even the essay correction package would be great. We could continue to work together and work on kind of tweaking some of these areas. Okay, so hopefully we'll see more of your work, and I want to thank you and wish you lots of luck.